The man that I have next to me is, let's say, one of the reasons why I'm here in this format today. He's the first person who actually put me on, let's say, mainstream media. He had, I think, the only show at that time in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai that Tate.
Are you happy in your life? Are you happy at work? Are you happy in your relationship, with your performance, with your health? Do you go to sleep at night feeling fulfilled? Let me teach you how to become the next alpha Muslim male.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today's a bit different. I'm a bit nervous because the man that I have next to me is, let's say, one of the reasons why I'm here in this format today. He's the first person who actually put me on, let's say, mainstream media. He had, I think, the only show at that time in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai that was an English medium show. It was Islamically focused on current affairs, and he had many student of knowledge on his show. He's known on many media platforms. He has a lot of courses and programs that he's currently running that we'll get into. He's also a dear friend of mine, my Mjomba. When I say Mjomba, this is my Mjomba. I think I'm the only one who's gonna speak to him or interview him that knows him on a level that I know him. It's my Mjomba Sheikhna Jibreel Al Romani. Welcome, Akhi.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you, Mjomba?
Njomba, alhamdulillah, everything's good.
How is your travels?
Ya akhi, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's good, man. Allah is Kareem. Allah is the most merciful, and Allah's been very kind. And
No.
you know me, I'm just always moving around. It's just been an ongoing travel. And I always remember the hadith of Prophet, be in this world as a traveler.
No.
Right. So this life is like, as you said, you sit under a tree to rest, and then you go. That's it.
Subhanallah. I mean, I am fortunate to have you here and to have you as a friend. You're a busy man, and one thing you've said, and I want to mention this early on, that, and it always resonates with me, and I think about this a lot. The friends that you have, you can count them in the palm of your hand, and if you think of the palm of your hand, if you spread it out, it's permeable. There's holes in it. So you have to do very well to hold on to your friends. And whenever I think of you, I always think, he's a dear friend of mine. And alhamdulillah, you're here today on Sema. And let's start from the beginning. Not really how you found Islam. I want to talk about your origins, being born in Romania. And how is it in Romania? How is Islam in Romania? What was the early influences of Islam you think you had in Romania?
Okay, Bismillah. So I was born in 1983, so I just turned 40, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Young man.
Alhamdulillah.
Shabab.
The beginning.
Yeah.
Right. I grew in a predominantly, obviously, Christian area. What was interesting about our family is that we were Orthodox, Catholic, and Unitarians.
No.
And I got baptized in all three churches in the same day. I don't know how they did it,
Yeah.
but they ran me through all three churches in one day.
Let's take no risks. Let's get him into all of them.
That's funny, right?
Yeah.
So my first exposure to Islam was a very negative one, because in Romania, we were taught in history class and in literature class that Muslims are obviously kind of what you see today on the news, right? So that was my first perception. That's all I knew. And especially was linked to the Ottoman Empire, to the Turks.
Yeah.
That was Romania's history, specifically linked to Vlad Tepes or Dracula.
Dracula,
Who is known as Dracula, because I'm from Transylvania, from that area.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of conditioning, poetry, essays, everything to deal with, the Romanians, the God's army, and the pagan moon worshipping God type of army, right? And obviously, this is still ongoing. Like, if you look at the world and you ask people, like, what do you know about Islam? Like, the first thing they're going to tell you is terrorist, Turk, whatever.
Yeah.
Killers, blood, this, that. And that's how we were raised.
Yeah.
That's how we were conditioned. That was my first exposure to Islam. It was negative.
Yeah.
Okay, that was very negative. So I've never met Muslims yet in Romania at the time. Never had encountered. I think the first time I've seen a Muslim was when I was about 14. Yeah, it was when I was about 14. I went to the capital. We were applying for a visa to go to Canada.
Yeah.
That's when I started seeing some Africans and some.
Yeah.
I've always had experience with different cultures,
yeah.
like the Gypsies, right? We have the Roma in Romania. It's huge, and
Famous ones.
I was always very close to them.
Yeah.
I was always very close to. I dated a few Roma girls as well. So,
Yeah.
I always had inclination towards the how can you say, more Eastern.
Like they have more tradition. Like if you look at them as the way they look, they're kind of they're covered up. They're modest. The women are modest. They look darker skinned.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like my exposure to Islam. It was very negative, man.
Yeah.
It was very negative.
I always say, and when people ask me about you, first of all, it's been a long time since we've had this setting. About 9 years.
You're mentioning, it was 9 years, right?
9 years, yeah. Huda TV.
That was like the original podcast, bro. Like, there was no podcast at that time.
There was no podcast.
Like, right now, the internet's full of podcasts.
Yeah.
But we were sitting like this, and that was like the original podcast.
You was the pioneer, bro. And we're
It
gonna.
was a live show as well.
Yeah, it was live.
Remember?
Yeah. And people used to call in and some crazy questions. You was the pioneer in this sort of format. And the reason why I said that, I want to talk about, just briefly, Romania. I want to link Romania and Andrew Tate.
Okay.
And so when people ask me about Andrew Tate, and I said, I know the Andrew Tate before Andrew Tate, Jibreel Al Romani. He's the real Andrew Tate, not the boisterous and showing off the message. I mean, when you listen to him and what he says himself, the message that bringing up children right and raising families and young adults and the perception of the world. This has been your actual literal work from the moment you stepped in Dawah. So what do you think about Romania and Dawah, and why he thinks it's like the best place for Romania, Andrew Tate, in this sort of the notion of it?
Okay, from what I understand, I know some of the brothers who gave him shahada and who talked to him, who still kept in touch with him. I think he initially went there because he thought it's a conservative country, it's a Christian country that is still valuing Christianity.
Yeah.
So when he actually went to Romania, that was his objective. And you find some of his old videos where he is talking about the Bible and Christianity and so on. And that's probably what attracted him to it, plus the tax breaks and other perks in Romania, no doubt about that. But indeed, he was very much, let's say, had enough with the West and the way the West treats men. We have to understand, for every action, there's going to be a reaction. So we know that Andrew Tate was a very big proponent of the red pill movement and red pill ideology, which started out of dating games and that kind of, this was a movement actually.
Expand on that a bit more.
So red pill ideology, see the Sunnah, and I don't want to say the Sunnah of Islam, but a rule of, let's say, of life is that whenever you go on one side, extreme, you're going to create another extreme. It has to be. This is a balance of life. There's night and there's day. Right? You stretch a cord or a spring to one side, it's going to go in the other direction, the other vector, the other side. So the world has pushed feminism post World War I, World War II, Industrial Revolution, with pushing women to change their natural disposition. We have to understand, we're looking here at thousands of years, millenniums, women having a certain role, a role that is befitting their biology, their DNA.
Yeah.
It just matches. Like there's no one who can nurture and who can be better at raising human souls, which is a very noble thing, than women.
Yeah.
They're just at their level of their DNA.
There's no substitute.
There's no way, man.
Yeah.
So the world, what it's done, it's pushed women to go into a masculine sphere.
Yeah.
Okay, the world, if you look at it, let's be honest. I know people don't like this, but it's been built by men.
Yeah.
The good and the bad.
Yeah. Of
The
course.
conquest, the destruction, the wars, the building of the buildings, the engineering, everything, good and bad.
Yeah.
We built it, we destroyed it, but it's been done by men. Women have had some here and there, but it's really, it gets lost in the ocean
Yeah.
of masculinity, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's say they supported the men. Let's say
Look,
to an extent.
every man in the end came between the legs of a woman into this world.
Yes.
Including the prophets,
No.
including the great generals,
Yes.
the great warriors, including all the geniuses, you name them, philosophers, orators, whoever you can think about came from a woman.
No.
And those women had huge influences on who these men were
And who they became. No.
And I want people to pay attention to this because it's a very important role. If you look and analyze today's men, we're in a crisis. We're weak. You cannot compare today's men to the warriors, orators, philosophers, and constructors of the previous eras.
Yeah, and you're sorry to interject, and you're famous for saying, and I say this, there are many males, but not many men. This is one of your sayings.
No doubt.
Yeah.
You're born as a male, but to become a man,
Yeah.
and a mother has a lot to contribute to how that man is shaped.
Yeah.
And those mothers who understood that and they were nurturing those men, those real men, those champions of the past. Again, constructors, destructors, whatever, that's a different story. And we don't see the men these days. And I'm not blaming women necessarily for this, for the failure. But because that type of quality of mother is not around anymore, because they're in the factories, they're in the CEOs, companies, you name them, chasing this life.
Yeah.
Therefore, we don't have the quality of men they used to be at that
Imagine.
time.
It's very hard to process and comprehend for someone who had a mother, Allah yarhamha, at home.
Allah yarhamha.
Like sometimes I think, imagine coming home and your mum is not there. Imagine coming from school and your mum's not there. You're coming from a school trip or you're coming from work or you're a young adult and there's no mother at home.
Bro, I remember when your mother called me, like she would call me sometimes, remember?
Subhanallah.
Please,
Yeah.
take care of Hassan. You know? He called me subhanallah. She's like
subhanallah.
concerned. And you were like a grown man, you know?
Yeah.
And like subhanallah, that
Yes.
Allah yarhamha, may Allah and have mercy on her. She was, amazing.
Yeah.
Always full of
Subhanallah.
we don't this is on the verge. That kind of mother is on the verge of extinction. People need to understand the crisis.
This is a crisis.
Okay.
And you did take care of me, but we're gonna get on that. But
But within that, I preface that.
Yeah.
But so just to respond to your question,
Yeah.
the other extreme was created.
Yeah.
So Andrew Tate was saying, I had enough with this feminist garbage, rubbish. I'm gonna go somewhere with a more conservative society. He picked Romania for many reasons, not only for Christianity, and I'm gonna live there. So he went there. And I think he kind of made Romania famous. I mean, before Andrew Tate were famous only for Dracula. It's pretty much it. I mean, people don't really know.
And the Romans.
Yeah, of course, we have connection to Romans. But other than like George Hagi, the soccer player.
Yeah.
And maybe Nadia Comaneci, the gymnast.
Yeah.
You got Dracula, and then you got now Andrew Tate. And a lot of people think he's Romanian. He's not Romanian.
Yeah.
Okay, he is American. But I think he also lived here in the UK, in Luton.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
And
so he went there and he saw that culture somehow still respects, I guess, religion.
Yeah.
Which I kind of disagree because I remember me going to church when I was young. It was not really serious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At that time in the late 80s, early 90s, church was not being serious anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? It was just for whatever, just socialize and just
part of culture, you'd
part
say.
of culture, no, 100%.
Not really, because it's not, there isn't this process and comprehension of the creator. They
100%.
don't really instill it in you. Okay, so you grew up in Romania, Canada. Was it like a pattern that many people from Romania or the Balkans that they were going to Canada? Was there a particular reason you was going to Canada? Was it for schooling, stuff like that?
Well, if you look at Romania specifically right now, they have the greatest population of youth. They're outside of Romania. They left Romania. And it was usually because of economical reasons.
Yeah.
So you guys have tons of them here in the UK.
Yeah,
It's just a lot of it.
Yeah.
They went to Canada, they went to America, they went all over the place to look for a better life.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the main reason why people migrated from Romania to all
Yeah.
So we were part of that. We were part of that
Yeah.
immigration process and ended up in Canada in 1998.
Yeah.
And it was a very big culture shock, very big difference, huge difference between
Cold.
our
Oh, I mean,
culture.
Romania's cold as well, isn't it? So the weather wasn't a
it's
big
not
factor.
that, believe it or not, Romanian culture, even though they're Christian, and by the way, we do have Muslims in Romania,
Yeah.
even though they're Christian, they're very much Eastern culture.
Yeah.
Like our traditions are very much in line with like Turkish, Arab traditions.
Yeah, I see that as well because not many people know this, but just an example, during this Ukrainian crisis, Romania, I think, was the first surrounding countries who actually offered asylum, and specifically they said to Africans who are stuck in Ukraine. I have friends who studied in Romanian medicine that they left UK to study Romanian to study in Romanian medicine, and some of them are dark-skinned Africans, and I've asked them, how is it in Eastern Europe? Are they said Romania, they're not racist.
No, Romania's a bit different.
Yeah, so it's
not like Serbia or Russia.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like Serbia. And they said Romania is, and the language as well, I think it's easy to pick up.
Yeah, so basically our ethnicity is Latin.
Yeah.
As opposed, we're surrounded by Slav cultures and Slav ethnicities.
Yeah.
We are Latin. We're the only Latin culture and country. So very close to like Spanish, Italians, Portuguese,
French.
And exactly.
Which I find fascinating. Why do you think the history of Romani Gypsies, why do you think they kind of stopped or ended up in Romania? Is it because of the Latin thing? Was there a particular reason, you think, a kingdom or something?
Okay, so the throne of the Gypsy king.
Okay, not Tyson Fury.
No, okay. The Roma.
The real guy.
Is in Romania. The Buli Basha and the Basha, like basically they're all in Romania.
Yeah.
There's huge communities in Croatia, Italy, Spain, and other places. But the main bulk of them is in Romania.
Yeah.
They speak the same language. I think they stopped there because I think there was tolerance. I think they were, to an extent, more welcome. I'm not saying fully welcome, because during communism, there was a lot of racism against them and a lot of abuse.
Yeah.
However, I think compared to other countries, they were accepted the most.
Yeah.
So if you go in the southern part of Romania, Dobrogea, most of the Roma are Muslims.
Oh,
yeah.
Subhanallah.
Yeah.
And are they accepted by the rest of the country? Do they have documentation? And they're not really, or they're travelers, like, let's say, the Gypsies?
Yeah, it depends. There's some that are not documented, and they still hold the tradition of traveling, kind of. And then there's those who just basically took the citizenship and the passport, and they're documented.
There's this conspiracy, and I don't know how true it is, that Cristiano Ronaldo is a gypsy, maybe from Romania.
Maybe
him and his wife, because he's from Madeira, and there's a lot of traveling gypsies there. And his other the other guy, Charisma, I forgot his first name. He was known. Portugal has a community of gypsies,
right,
and they're a bit darker skin. And his name is Ricardo Charisma, and he was always discriminated against, and he was very close to Ronaldo. So I don't know if he's originally from Romania. All right, so Canada. It's fascinating how, like when I go to Africa, a lot of people, they ask me, how is Islam there? There's no religion there, I mean, when they're referring to UK, let's say. So when I travel back home, and they're surprised that I know how to pray, I know how to read Quran a little bit, I know how to recite. Where did you learn all of this? So their assumptions, people who've never been to, let's say, the Western world, they assume that there's no Islam, there's no deen, or it's very hard to find. You can't really practice, but it's fascinating. So you moved to Canada, and this was your first type of introduction to the Islamic way of life, you'd say.
Yeah, I think even about Romania, knowing that there's Muslims in Romania, I only found out in Canada.
SubhanAllah, yeah.
Like there's about 300 mosques in Romania.
Yeah, yeah.
I've never known there's one mosque even. I only found out about this in Canada.
Yeah.
I had no clue. But my first exposure meeting Muslims was in Canada. And funny enough, it was a white guy. He was a Bosnian Muslim who looked, blue eyes, blonde hair.
Our brother, is it?
Huh?
Our brother that we both know?
Brother Kamal, yeah. His brother.
Oh.
Yeah,
Alamir's
brother, yeah.
Yes. No.
Right. So I was like, you're Muslim? He's like, yeah, I'm Muslim. I'm like, no, you're not. He's like, yes. I'm like, you're converted. Because, again, the Romanian mindset, the Turks converted the world and whatnot.
Yeah.
He's like, I was born Muslim. I mean, maybe down the line, and sometimes my ancestors, converted. But yeah, I was born Muslim and whatnot. So for me, it was quite fascinating to see that and see his interactions, specifically with the Somalis.
Yeah.
So we had this soccer team.
Yeah.
It was called African Romanian Stars.
Afro-Romani.
So it was like a mix of
football. That's
football.
for everyone from the UK. Yeah.
So it was a mix of Somalis and Africans and some of the Romanians.
It's crazy how Islam unite people,
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So that was and it was weird because he was closer to the Africans than he was to us. You know what I mean?
You think because of the religion?
Of course.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was weird. Like I was like, how come?
It's a white man.
It's a white man. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah,
And it was like they didn't see him as white.
Yeah.
I saw him as white and I saw them as black, but they didn't seem to make that distinction.
Yeah.
The way they would communicate, there was a flow.
Yeah.
That was transcending their cultures. And to me, that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I was always a very deep thinker. I was always inclined. I used to love to read about the Far East and 1001 Nights and all these stories, right?
Yeah.
And I was very captivating, even with the Gypsies and everything. I was always close to them, always learning about their language and their culture and whatnot. And it was interesting, very captivating to see that there was a brotherhood.
Yeah.
That transcended color.
Camaraderie.
It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Language, similar culture. They prayed together. I was like, SubhanAllah, I was like, what is this? Because as a Romanian, when I went to Canada and I wanted to go to a church, I couldn't just enter that church and just start praying. Because I have no clue about the language. Certain things were different. Even if I were to go, I would have to go to a Romanian Orthodox church. And even there, they're doing things a little bit different.
Yeah.
As opposed to let's say later on, for example, when I went to Dar es Salaam.
Yeah.
And went for
in Tanzania,
right?
Yes.
Or forget about that. Going to Arusha or Singira,
Yeah.
It's like in
Tanzania,
right?
Njomba. One thing you don't know about Njomba, he's traveled around. We'll get to. We're gonna go in stages.
But like walking in the masjid there, pray the same. Everything's the same. I don't even know the language, but guy who took me for chapati and tea, this and that.
Yeah.
Like I just remember the face on my colleagues, the non-Muslim colleagues who were on the project with me, who were African American, and see me coming with the locals in the morning after Fajr, and they're like,
you're like best friends.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I was like, these are my brothers, So I've experienced what I saw with Brother Kamal, the Bosnians and the Africans in my school in Canada. I experienced that later when I converted to Islam.
Yeah.
And that's something that people I don't think you can define that.
Yeah.
You have to experience it.
You have to feel it because it kind of transcends any sort of barriers, whether it's ethnicity, language, Islam. You travel the whole world that you see someone who's Muslim, everything goes out the window. So when you moved to Canada and then you saw the Somali brothers, the African brothers, had you ever seen African people before that? Or did you?
I've seen African people a couple of times when I went to, as I said, to the capital. For visa purposes. Yeah. That was my first time. I was like,
it's like a culture shock.
Different thing,
It's crazy. Growing up, I was born in Africa. I came to the UK. I was probably 4 years old, and for some reason, I was afraid of the white man. Like if I see someone white, I would run away. And I can't remember in my brain if someone ever said anything to me, or maybe watching movies, certain movies, always the Russian guy who's killing everyone. So I remember my earliest memory of seeing a white person, I started running and crying. It's like, and then it's crazy that because I'm from from outside looking in, I'm from like a mixed family. So you have people who are very dark skinned in my family. My own siblings, some are dark, some are light skinned. You have people who are almost white. Even, I tried my best to how long did it take me? It didn't take me long to stay away, not mention Zanzibar, but even in Zanzibar, because we have this melting cultures, different ethnicities. But Islam, it just, as I said, it transcends that, and you have this common thing. Well, we're Muslim,
That's it.
It's like, so you move to Canada, and the brother, this is your first introduction to the religion. And myself, growing up in the UK, I used to go madrasa, and I used to go and listen to the imam give a lecture on how to practice and stuff like that. I didn't understand it because it was in Swahili. I understood it, but I never ever processed it. It was like a cultural, and it was thing that was ISO for me. Oh, I have to come back from school, get changed, have a shower, go to the madrasa, learn Quran. I hated it, which I regret now. It's only when I was about 16 years old, and I joined the Islamic Society, and I had people who were my age talking to me about Islam. That's when I was like, oh, so this is Allah's the creator, and I start actually comprehending. Do you think this was a factor for you, seeing someone who's the same age as you, same schooling, and he's conducting himself a certain type of way? You think that was an important factor of you actually comprehending a religion?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when people talk about religion, it's theory.
Yeah.
Right? You go to an institution, someone gives you a lecture, and that's it. For me, I think I've actually experienced and seen the actions. And that's what was one of my greatest, it was a cognitive dissonance, because it was contradiction for me, what I learned about Muslims and how the Muslims were acting, how they were treating me. Right? So for example, even though I was not a Muslim, I was white, the Somali boys always had my back.
Yeah.
No matter what. Warrior! Come.
Shout out to the Warriors.
Right? Shout out to
and you're in Somali
warrior.
capital here, but you don't
That's
know,
it.
like here in Leicester.
Bro, it's like, and they used to say to me, they were always like, I think one day you'll become Muslim,
Yeah.
Abdi and,
Abdul Rahman.
Abdul Rahman and
Yeah.
Abdul Fattah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Abdul Fattah and Abdul Ghani as well.
Wow, yeah, no.
Right? So like they're always saying, so I've seen it. I've seen the way they would behave, the way they would share their food with me.
Yeah.
Right? The way they would treat me, talk to me. It was very, very different than what I learned in Romania about the Muslims. So wait a second. This is different. I've learned that they're like this and they hate me and whatnot. And here we go. These guys are acting totally different.
Yeah.
So there must be some problem. There must be something different. So I wanted to know more. So because I was in this active process of learning as opposed to just theory, where I just go and sit and listen. Like we're going places and, the guy's praying. He has to stop and pray.
Yeah.
Like we used to stop and go, like party.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I got to pray. I'm like, bro, I was like, what do you mean you're praying? Like, we got to party. He's like, no, I know it's bad. But I need to pray.
I'm going to miss my salah.
I'm going to miss my. So I was like, it's weird because.
What is this?
What is this?
Yeah.
Why do you have to pray? Like, why are you so dedicated to your prayer? What do you mean you're going to party, but you know you're wrong?
Why are you so disciplined in that?
Right, discipline, right?
You have no discipline in anything else, but this, you're just so disciplined.
And I actually asked him.
Yeah.
And he said, look, I know this is my door.
Yeah.
It's always going to be open. I know one day I'm going to change my life, but I need to leave this door open.
Yeah.
I need to make sure this is always connecting me to God.
Yeah.
And I always remember that. It's like stuck in, and I was always observing.
Yeah. Real quick on that, on the prayer. Let's just jump on that. A lot of people, I'm going to talk about my own culture. Some people maybe don't pray 5 times a day, but someone might come along and be like, oh, I'm going to pray, join me. But we have this derogatory culture, I would say, the Swahili culture. Not everyone. They'll be like, oh, you're praying because so and so told you to pray, or you're praying because you're asking for something. The way I understood it is that if you pray, you've prayed. There's only good in good. Whatever catalyst or any reason has got you to the sujood, you've made the sujood, or otherwise you wouldn't have made it. So if it's the brotherhood or someone saying, let's go pray, what do you think? Like, should we feel guilty, or should we think, you know what, I don't make 5 prayers, and it's easy for someone to say, I might as well not pray then? Or do you think you should take it as it comes, every opportunity?
Look, man, you don't know when is your last day.
Yeah.
That one sujood can make the difference between heaven and hell, man.
Subhanallah.
That one last prayer can make the difference between heaven and hell.
Yeah.
Don't ever... no one knows what's in your heart, right? Like, no one can judge the intention of a person. Okay, maybe a person prays for whatever reason. It's between him and God.
No.
You don't know that. That's Allah's going to judge that person on the Day of Judgment.
Yeah.
Right? Don't stop anyone from praying, man.
Yeah.
Whatever, pray. Pray whatever you can. And don't let, Shaitan, Satan, to tell you that, I don't pray. I might as well not pray. That's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do, it's, just do it. Do it. Because it could make the difference between Jannah and Jahannam.
And should we worry about the state that we're in? Because some dais, and I'm not going to mention their name, they've said, even if you're smoking weed, pray. Even if you're consuming alcohol, pray. Even if you have a girlfriend, pray. So do you think that the state matters? What's your thought on that?
Look, there's a difference between someone who's a criminal on purpose and doesn't care and makes a mockery out of prayer. And let's say a person who comes out of them, he might be coming out of the club, a strip club.
Yeah.
At 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
And his phone or something, maybe he hears the adhan.
I know.
And he feels all of a sudden this guilt, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he says, man, I'm just going to go pray. Like, who's there to say, don't go pray? Of course, he's ashamed of himself. Like, khalas, man, go pray.
Yeah.
Khalas. Whether your prayer is accepted or not, based on, you are drunk and whatnot. Again, Allah will,
No.
we know what's the ruling on that.
Yes.
If you are coming out of a club at 4 a.m. and you've heard the adhan or something came in your mind, some feeling that's telling you to repent, man, hit the prayer.
No.
100%.
No, alhamdulillah. I just wanted to touch on that because it's something that I speak to a lot of the youth about it, and a lot of people that I know, and advocate that you should always pray, because as Allah says, there's only good in good and there's only bad in bad. So I always give the example on giving charity. There's many ways to give sadaqah and to give charity, but I always get into this conversation where someone has asked me for money and he might look like a crackhead, and I have a few change, and then they'll be like, why are you giving it to him? He's just gonna go buy alcohol. Why don't you give to the mosque? But my argument is the action that I did was a good action. So there might, if I know I'm giving money to this person and he's going to that shop and he's buying alcohol, that may be a different conversation.
Right.
But if I don't know for sure and he's asking for 50 pence change or whatever, that's on me. Maybe I got that hasanat. That was the opportunity 100%. For my hasanat.
100%.
So I use that example of
there's a
prayer.
famous hadith on this, exactly on
Bismillah.
Same thing, where people say in the morning, oh, someone gave charity to a prostitute, or someone gave charity to a thief, or someone last night gave charity to a rich man who was just messing about just to get money.
Yeah.
Right? And the hadith ends with like the person who made the intention to give charity gets what he intended for. Basically. He doesn't know who that person is. And it may be that prostitute or that person, it stopped him from doing something wrong by just taking that charity. Allahu Alam, yani.
Yeah.
You can't. You just, as you said, if you know that this guy is right next to a liquor store and his eyes are shot and he's like, then you're going to be smart, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if a person, whatever, hey, if you have it and you can give it, Bismillah.
Okay. So, alhamdulillah, you're in Canada. You're with the brothers. Your camaraderie. You have this community now. Alhamdulillah, and I know you've spoken about it, but I want you to speak about it on Sema. What was the Sema? What was the deciding factor? And you thought, you know what? Today's the day. I'm gonna take the shahada.
Yeah.
What would you think it was the deciding factor for you, or did it happen in stages?
It took time.
Yeah.
There was some very, very, how can I say, important catalysts, very important events where I was like, man, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? It's like punches in the face, basically. Wake up,
Yeah.
wake up, wake up.
Yeah.
And one of them was a dream that I had.
Subhanallah.
Right? It was a very vivid dream. And I was a student of psychology at the time, always studying psychology, even as a young, or
Yes.
even in high school. That was my passion.
Yeah.
The human mind, human behavior, cognition. And the dream was so vivid where I was dying.
Subhanallah.
Right? And I was dying in a not a good environment, which is something that I obviously was involved in and frequenting.
Was you burning?
Huh?
Was you burning? I ask you that because when we had that accident, and I'm gonna get into that, you was like, bro, I don't want to die like this. I don't want the car to be on fire. But anyways, go ahead.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was like, I was like, look, I don't want to. So that dream was so powerful, where basically my soul was lifting to the heaven, towards this light. Someone stabbed me.
Subhanallah.
And I woke up and I was drenched in sweat and crying. I was crying and crying and crying.
La hawla
And
wa la quwwata.
automatically I felt bro, what if this is a sign?
Mm.
And it was not a sign for anything else. What if I'm going to die?
Yeah.
I don't think people should just embrace Islam just because of dreams.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm trying to say here, even though
Yeah.
maybe that personal spiritual experience matters. But I wouldn't use it necessarily as an evidence for the truthfulness of Islam.
No.
But for me personally, it was yo, wake up. What if you die? I was already studying.
Yeah.
Intellectually, I was convinced.
Yes.
But things were holding me back. And I think it pushed me over to realize, to wake up that maybe, what if I do die?
Yeah.
So that was probably the thing that really pushed me over the edge to say that, you know what, hey, I'm going to just take shahada. So one day when I woke up, a little bit after the dream, not right away from the dream, but maybe even a few weeks or even months after the dream,
Yeah.
I was like, that's it, man. I can't lie to myself. I can't delay it anymore. This is it.
Yeah.
I might die today. Because keep in mind, when I embraced Islam, I wasn't a Christian anymore. I left Christianity out of the research that I'd done and understanding, or is this okay? So I was used to this. I've been raised in this culture. That's all I knew. So when I went to intellectually examine the faith and other faiths as well, I would say probably around year 10, year 11, year 12, that time, looking at the Eastern religions, Buddhism, Hinduism, all that, really examining. That's it. I was like, you know what? I can't. This is just not. It's not just not for me, or I don't like it. It's that intellectually it contradicts itself. It contradicts the scriptures within itself. It contradicts what the church says. The scriptures contradict the church. It's incomplete. There's historical issues. It was intellectual. It's not I don't feel it. It doesn't. Some people say, oh, I didn't agree with it. It didn't feel right. I didn't like it. It didn't agree with me. I didn't. Some people give you that. Right? For me, it was not like that. It was an ongoing intellectual, spiritual battle with the scriptures and with reality and with everything, knowledge.
And you had this knowledge. A lot of people, just before they take the shahada, they have to understand knowledge of hereafter, who is the creator, and then they take. So you had this knowledge where you thought, oh, if I die, I'm about to find out.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So then I literally just woke up and I said, that's it, man. I got to take shahada.
Yeah.
I have to take shahada. And I did.
Yeah.
And it was the beginning.
Yes.
It was just the thing. I thought, sometimes you feel like, okay, that's going to be like
Yeah.
the end. Like I'm on a journey. I'm reaching my destination.
If only you knew.
Only you
You'd be
knew, bro.
Jibreel Al Romani.
I remember,
Mr. Masculine himself.
I was climbing some mountains close to Iran.
Yeah.
Like, not
Here we go. Yeah.
The Omani side of
Okay.
Close to the Hormuz Strait.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a hot day. I had no water. I was alone.
Yeah.
You see a mountain, you're like, okay, it's the end, the top.
As you
I reach
do
the
on,
top.
on a Wednesday.
And you reach the top, and there's another
the
one.
peak. Yeah.
So that's how I thought I'm gonna reach the peak. And when I reached Islam, there was another huge peak in front of me.
Subhanallah.
Like life was just starting.
Yeah.
And since then, it's just been a series of mountains. Every
Yeah.
time you reach one, it's like another one.
Okay, let's address these mountains. Okay, alhamdulillah, you took your shahada. Let's fast forward now. Islamic psychology. This is something that you've always, as you said, you've always been passionate about. And I want to speak about one of your courses that kind of resonated with me big time, and fighting intellectual apostasy. This is one of the reasons I think why you was traveling and you went to Africa. Speak more about what is this intellectual apostasy?
Right. So we're living in a world where faith is not important anymore. I think people are practicing faith just as a hobby. You see a lot of people moving towards Eastern religions, Taoism, Buddhism, just for spirituality. And I think a lot of it has to do with it. We're going to link into psychology and the way the brain is wired. There is a God spot in the brain, right? The brain is wired for belief in a higher being. There's just no doubt about it.
Yes.
Like there is a part of the brain that lights up under scan when there's godly or spiritual experience.
It's what atheists say, innit? They're like, oh, I know there's something. When you speak to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So human beings have that, but I think when it comes to religion, it's been sold to the world that organized religion, it's not so good. It causes most of the problems in the world.
Yeah.
And in many cases, that is to an extent correct. And people base their experience with their own religion, which is limited, to the vastness of the universe and the existence of the creator.
Yeah.
So they say, well, Christians, for example, like Catholics, right? They'll have an experience with what happened recently, a few years ago, with the whole fiasco and crisis with the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
And how many churches they lost, how many priests were involved in those scandals. So they say, but I know with God, like this religion, it's not for me, right? So then if you bring, like, let's say another religion, like, no, I know all religions. So in that way, that sense, coupled with science, which I believe is a religion, actually. And I'll tell you why, because a lot of it is theory, not all of it. It's sold as laws, but a lot of it's theory. It changes a lot.
Hypothesis.
It's hypothesis. It has its proponents. It has its dais. It has its scholars. It has its, influencers.
Yeah.
So it's a religion to an extent. So that has come in and brought this whole rational outlook on things. Like, look, you can't really see. Look at what the world's done with religion. We have to be in a new world order and scientific approach and so on. But most people have no clue about science. I mean, you have to understand it's a very small percentage of the world who really studied and understand science.
Yeah.
Most people will be like, yeah, this is scientific. Like, you have no clue what science is, bro.
You don't know the
you
parameters.
don't know the parameters. You don't
You
know
don't
what
even know
the scientific approach
structure.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right? You've never done any research. You don't understand. You're just like, but the, PubMed says this, or, this, journal says this, right? Therefore, it's true.
Yes. I always find it crazy when someone's like, talk about religion, and they always supersede religion with science. I'm like, how did you, if you read Islam as its essence, Islam laid the foundations of what you now consider science.
In many
ways,
yes.
Do you even know science? What are the parameters of science? How do you know about tests, hypotheses, ontology, and things like that? Things that they often over magnify to kind of blur the lines. You know, they over magnify this social sciences to kind of, how do you know something it is what it is? All right, man, it doesn't matter, you know. It just has to be something that's a direct effect of another effect. It has to be literal. It has to be something that we can see. And Islam talks a lot about this rationality.
No doubt.
Okay, going back to the apostasy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people have committed intellectual apostasy from whatever religion.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. We are in a world right now where most people are either atheists or agnostics. There's still some strongholds of Christianity, some of Hinduism, but it's mostly culture. Like when you look, there's a lot of Hindus, mostly because it's very tight to culture.
Yes. So if we to simplify it, apostasy are someone who has left their religion.
Right.
Yes.
Who has left the religion? They don't actually fully believe that this is the truth.
Yeah.
They don't think that, you know, they're on the right path in terms of that there's a creator, that there's an accountability, that other people are not on the right, but they're not correct.
Yes.
Right. It's like now it's become, okay, it's a culture. It is us, they have theirs, whatever, we get along and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But they don't really fully have faith and believe that there's an actual absolute truth.
Yes.
And this is kind of how education has been structured, actually. If you think about it, after the induction of the theory of Darwinism, okay, and the Darwin trial that happened in America, the educational system was restructured. And you have to understand there's a continuous conditioning of children all over the world.
Yes.
Where religion is just culture. So the world right now, again, I'm not yet talking about Islam, just overall looking, due to the lack of religiosity, morality has decreased. And hedonism, or following your desires, has increased, which is another religion. And it has caused huge changes to the world.
Yes.
Right? So many people have intellectually apostatized because they don't really believe intellectually that I can prove or I have an argument or that this is correct. And many Muslims have followed the same thing.
Yes.
Many Muslims have become atheists. Many Muslims have become communists.
Yes.
Many countries.
Socialists.
Feminists. And so on. Yeah. You look at Egypt, you look at Jordan, you look at many countries, people have apostatized intellectually. They might say, yeah, we're Arabs, we're Muslim, we're this and that, but they don't actually believe that this is the truth.
This is where the intellectual aspect of your program is. Like their psyche has left Islam.
Right.
And then they denounce Islam.
That's it.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know what... I'm sorry, I don't even know what this is.
Commercial.
What happened? The commercial. Yeah.
Halftime.
What happened? I have no idea. That's never happened before. Yes.
So we designed this course
specifically
for Muslims. Non-Muslims can definitely benefit from it. And we looked at, okay, what are some of the main arguments that these people, which are a lot of them, have against Islam? If you ask a person, like, why are you not Muslim anymore, bro? He'll be like, well, because I read this in the Quran, or the Hadith says this, and science doesn't agree with it.
There's slavery in the Quran.
Or something like that.
I always get that one.
Today I was talking to one of my clients, right, in counseling.
Yeah.
And he was suffering from severe OCD, like severe intrusive thoughts, waswasa of faith. And he was talking about a hadith, right? And he was like, look, I can't sleep. I'm not feeling good. It's like this doubt in my heart because science says this and this hadith says that. And I said, okay, so let's break it down. I went to the Arabic. We looked at the words, explain it. And he was like, oh my God, like I never looked at it. I'm like, of course they wouldn't look at it because these people don't want you to look at it that way. They want to just ridicule it. They want to just make fun of it. Usually people don't believe in faith. They're always... One of the things that you'll find that's common amongst these so-called educated intellectuals, atheists, is that they always use the fallacy of appeal to ridicule. They're always trying to make fun of religion. Oh, look, your Quran says this, or your Bible says that, or your thing says that. Right?
Yeah.
And you're like, you're an idiot. right? You can't even read it properly.
Yeah.
First of all, right? But it works with most people.
Yeah.
As most people, like for example, this client, they don't have the ability or the tools to break down the argument, to deconstruct it. Why? Because they've never been taught like that. They've gone through a system. When they hear science says this, all of a sudden science goes and takes a superior position.
Yeah.
And science is making fun of religion. Therefore, oh my God, I'm in doubt now.
Yeah.
And many people have committed intellectual apostasy because of this. So our course is basically taking down things and breaking it down rationally and showing the superiority of Islam over any thought or philosophy or science in this world. Why? Because it's from God. It's simple.
Yeah. Do you feel like someone who leaves, let's say Islam, is it because they haven't fully understood it to begin with? Like when people go into this communism, socialism, and other isms, is that they feel like if you speak to them, they feel like that there's a gap somewhere, there's a void that they haven't really understood anything yet. And instead of filling that void with the literature of Islam, they find it somewhere else. You feel like they haven't fully given Islam 100% and they haven't really read or understood or comprehended.
100%. I mean, look again, man. If you don't know fundamentals of math,
Yes.
arithmetics, like you can't do calculus,
Yeah.
right? You're gonna be confused in a calculus class. You want to leave, right? Imagine you go with no proper foundations of mathematics.
Bro, I know what you're talking about, bro, because I just did a master's in construction.
You know,
And some of the formulas in there, it's like paintings. I was like, this lecture's drawing on the board now. I don't know what's going on.
You know,
it's like you're alienated.
you don't want to go to class.
Yeah.
You're gonna want to leave.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of the same thing in Islam. I would say right now, again, because of the education system, this wasn't the case.
Yeah.
Right now, we're talking about current day, modern day. Most Muslims do not know Islam. From the basics, you don't know the language. If you don't know the Arabic language, which is the code for the faith itself, which has been preserved over 1,444 years.
Yeah.
How are you going to be able to decode and to be able to communicate and to understand the basics?
It's like you're depriving yourself. I feel like, these artists like Shakespeare or people, academics will talk about Shakespeare, let's say, as an example. If you don't know Shakespeare, they tell you, oh, you're depriving yourself from like literature. Right. But imagine Arabic. I don't know a lot of Arabic, but I know some of it because of the language that I speak and the education I've had. The little that I know, I feel like someone who knows nothing has completely been deprived of the world. 100%. Even how expressive Arabic is in its language.
And I know Arabic quite well. Yeah. Yeah. When I sit with, like, for example, I was sitting right now with in Malaysia with one of my sheikhs, and he's doing like a tafsir, an analysis, and he was explaining some things, and I was sitting, I was like, what? Like, I know when I read through Quran, I can get some jewels and gems, right? Yeah. And yet when he's just explaining some words, and I was like, are you kidding? Like,
don't you? You mentioned Malaysia. Let's jump on that too, all right?
So we're done with intellectual apostasy.
We'll come back to it. We'll finish it off because you have a few programs that we want to address. Mashallah, many mountains since that the first one. Don't you find it when I've traveled to like these corners of the earth? I like to call it from where I come from, because from them they're the center of themselves. But I find it fascinating. Places like Malaysia has Islam. Just the fact that there's Islam in Malaysia, the other side of the Indian Ocean, very far. Places like let's say like Bangladesh, we've got a massive Bangladeshi community, big in faith. China. But I'm thinking Malaysia, how strong Islam is. They're on the Sharia, but that's very far from when Islam started from. Don't you find it fascinating that these people are Muslim till now? It's actually an accomplishment that these guys are the most, I think in terms of population, they're the biggest in Islam.
Indonesia is.
Yeah, Indonesia, which is the neighboring country.
Yeah, neighboring country.
Yes. Tell me about, do you find that fascinating?
It's amazing. I mean, when I was there 2 weeks ago, we did a tour. We did 7 states in 48 hours, like sleep in the car, sleeping on the floor in the masjid. It was amazing. And when you go to those other states, you find, for example, obviously Kuala Lumpur is a more cosmopolitan type of city. But you go to the real Malay, like you find Jawi still being written in Arabic.
Subhanallah.
Right? It's in Arabic. The signs, everything's in Arabic.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? It's like amazing. Like you can read it basically. And it's that common, going back to what I saw from those Africans with the Bosnian, right?
Yeah.
Is that worldwide brotherhood, one direction for prayer, one Quran, one language, one way, one God, it's one humanity.
Does it like reinstall in you when I travel the world? It reinstalls in me that Islam is the right religion, because it's impossible for a whole population people of being stupid.
Let me make it very simple.
Yeah.
See, Islam, I know sometimes again semantics mean a lot, like the words that we use. I try to avoid, even though for explanation purposes, but when I explain what is Islam, try to avoid the word religion. So the way I explain it is that Islam is the way of life. Imagine a straight line.
Yes.
From the beginning, the first man that was created and was given revelation till the end of time. Okay?
Yeah.
That straight line, on it, there's different time stamps. So for example, it was Adam was the first man. That's, let's say, the beginning time stamp. Then you have maybe Prophet Noah, the Ark of Noah.
Yeah.
Then you have, let's say, Prophet Abraham. Okay, it's another stamp. And in between, there's a lot, by the way, right? We know. And then you have so we say Abraham, Prophet Moses.
No.
Obviously, the Jews are going to recognize that.
Isa.
Then you have Prophet Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay,
Isa
Jesus, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
Then you have Prophet Muhammad.
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
And then the end of time.
Yeah.
Okay. Between them, there's 124,000 prophets and messengers. So you look at the whole world, everyone has had some form of revelation, religion, whatever you want to call it, right? Whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we know that from this straight line, there's been deviations. Because this straight line has been consistent. The straight line says very simple, that there's one God. Different prophets, different times. People had different issues, different things that were addressed in the laws that were sent. And people don't realize, they think it's, you had this religion and I had the religion and then this religion came. No, it's always been the same religion, the same way. It's always been the same. Islam's understanding, Islam tells us it's always been the same thing. Humanity's always been united by one way. Simple. Not one religion, not some priests here and some temples there. And one way of life.
Yeah.
And at its core is that just simple concept that there's one God only. That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Like people need to understand that. That's where it starts. All the religions and philosophies that we see today is just deviations from that straight line. Analyze it.
Yeah.
For example, you look at Hinduism, which is a very polytheistic religion, right? Now compare that to the straight line. The straight line says one God.
Yeah.
Hinduism, when you look at Vishnu, Krishna, all the different manifestations, right? But when you study the
Bhagavad Gita,
the Gitas, right?
Yeah.
You find in it some tawheed here and there, some reminiscences,
some essence,
right? And that's why people are like, wait a second, but how come it says the God is one? And then because people, and we are, you have to understand, people are corruptors. Like we corrupt our own bodies. We corrupt our own selves. Of course, we're going to corrupt religion.
Yeah.
Of course, we're going to corrupt everything. We corrupt the environment. Like we're polluting all the time. Mm-hmm. We are just how we are. We are, right? And it's beautiful because at the beginning of the Quran, in chapter 2, at the beginning, right at the beginning, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. And when it said to them, don't corrupt the earth, don't make mischief, don't make corruption, they'll say we're peacemakers.
Yeah.
And wallahi, when you look at today's world, when you accuse someone who is clearly destroying the world, such as what we're dealing with right now, they're gonna say, no, we're making peace. We wanna make sure that we're protecting the same answer they give.
Yes.
When wait a second, you're killing innocent people. You're corrupting, you're polluting, you're stealing, you're this, you're that. No, we're trying to protect the world and
the irony,
right?
Peacemaker,
Peacemaker. We're peacemakers.
Yeah.
We're peacemakers. Peacemakers, but we're gonna bomb your bums, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna smash you, but we're peacemakers.
Yeah. We're protecting everyone.
Bro, that verse is so powerful, and it's at the beginning of the Quran to show humanity we're corruptors. So we've corrupted the path of God, and that's where all these religions come from. But the way of life has always been. That's why Islam is not an ism. It's not Christianity. It's not Hinduism. It's not Taoism, Buddhism. It's not linked to any person, place, or whatever. It's called Islam. Islam. It means what? Submission to God. Simple. It's a concept.
To the one who's created you. Yes.
That's it. When people say, "Oh, you are Muslim," you Muslims. What is this Islam?
Yeah.
Dude, it's like submission. Like when I talk to like priests or like, don't you submit to God? Yeah. I'm like, that's Islam. Well, no, I'm not a Muslim. like, if you would say that you submit to God, it means that's what Islam means.
Yeah.
Islam doesn't mean Mohammedism. Never, ever, ever is it linked to Muhammad. But you see, every other religion is linked to its founder or its main person. Any philosophy, ideology, it's always linked to the main person who founded it or is usually at the center of that philosophy. Islam is not Mohammedism. There's no such thing. You cannot. It's a violation of its main principle if you were to say that.
Yes.
Right? So Islam is a concept.
Yeah.
It's a concept of a person trying to submit to the will of the Creator and do his best in this life in honoring all the prophets and following their way. And this is Islam, right? And that's why it's like it's a universal concept of the correct way of life. Simple.
Yeah. So if we go back on, let's wrap up the intellectual apostasy. Places like Malaysia, do you feel like that sort of program will be more effective in Muslim majority countries like Malaysia, Saudi Arabia, let's say Pakistan? This is where you see that there's this little enclaves of people who've come out of Islam and what they do is like they glorify them, they celebrate them, and they put them on TV and they talk about how bad Islam is. This is your course. It does that damage control. You think it's more effective in these areas?
Yeah, no doubt. If you look at Malaysia, you look at the Middle East, people are and have left Islam. Many. I mean, it's there. They're getting the platforms that you said. They are being put on the spotlight.
Yeah.
And 100% that's where it's needed because there's damage control that needs to be done.
Yeah.
If the Muslims themselves are not sure of their faith, man.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to the conditioning, goes back to, I mean, the Muslim countries don't have an Islamic educational system.
Yeah.
Imagine that. It's a Western system. So what do you think you're going to get if you put clear water to a dirty pipe? You think you're going to get clear water out, man? No doubt you're going to get dirty water.
Yeah. It's going to be mixed.
It's going to be mixed, man.
Okay, let's talk about the other courses. The environment that we're in right now, as you spoke about, the direct effect of let's say this modern day feminism, modern day life that we're living, hedonism, let's say, without going into specifics. You have one of your courses is Muslim Alpha Male. Let's talk about Muslim Alpha Male. It's very interesting. The age range, what's your ethos, the philosophy around it. And it's important right now because there's a lot of miscommunication. As we say, Andrew Tate can attract the wrong type of influence. So it's very important as you do it and you've been doing for as long as you've been active in this way, where you want to do a lot of damage control and point the younger generation the right direction.
Right. So again, connecting to, I mean, why people might get annoyed as to why we're talking to Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Well, he is the more searched person right now online.
Yes.
I think his interview recently was only second to Donald Trump's interview.
Yes.
Right, in terms of views.
Yes.
People have to ask why. It's because He's come out of pretty much out of nowhere. I mean, while we are having our podcast back in the days, I mean, there was no talk. No one knew about Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Right? He just gained popularity. But the issue is, what has he highlighted? And that there's a crisis in masculinity. Yeah. I've seen this, I would say about 15, 16 years ago when I started teaching. That's when I start talking about these things.
Yeah.
So when I had my first show, I think 2010 in Iqra, that was one of the youth issues. You can still Google it, it's still there. Yesterday I was looking at some of the episodes.
Yeah.
And I had these 3 young guys with me. Like, we're talking about this back then. So Andrew Tate has highlighted this crisis, but he was able to go viral. And people need to understand that with all the type of words that he uses and all the way he's kind of packaged it, people are still attracted to the message. Because people have had enough of what's been going around in the world with the lack of morals, the lack of conservative approaches, lack of religiosity, and so on and so forth. So he became the voice for all those disempowered men feeling very, very abandoned, no value. People start literally fantasizing and living their life through him, through his videos.
Yeah.
So in that crisis, and I've always, even before Islam, I've had criticism of him. And obviously as a Muslim now, I still do. Obviously I'm a bit softer now because he's just at the beginning. He needs to find his feet. And I hope and I pray that he does.
Yeah.
Because he would be a huge champion, inshallah, for Islam. When Umar Khattab, radiallahu anhu, embraced Islam, you have to understand.
Yeah.
I don't want to compare Awud Billah Omar to, because there's no comparison.
But it was a pivotal moment.
It was. You have to understand, Omar was, honestly, Andrew Tate cannot be compared to what Omar was in Jahiliyyah before Islam. Like, he's an angel compared to what Omar would do, right? People need to understand. Omar Khattab was like, it was different. So when he became Muslim, right, the Prophet made dua for him to become Muslim. Prophet Muhammad said, oh Allah, give Islam victory with one of the 2 Omars. Okay, Abu Jahl or Umar Khattab.
Yeah.
And Allah chose Umar Khattab. And his strength, bro, like, it's like when he became Muslim, I'm Muslim, you know, people start beating him. People start fighting with him. You know, he was beating people. Like,
didn't he announce that?
He announced it. Whoever wants to lose his mother wants to lose her child, come and meet me. You know, I'll deal with you.
I am Muslim now.
I'm Muslim now, you know.
Yeah.
He went to the biggest mouthpiece ever.
Yes.
Like, hey, guess what? He's like, what? He's like, I became Muslim. Don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
He told everyone. Like, you have to understand that we pray. I know a lot of people do not like some of the things I say. I'm one of them. And I pray that he's going to change.
Yes.
There's definitely criticism of how he behaves till now and what he says till now.
Yes.
Because even though there's a crisis of masculinity, that's not how you fix it.
Yeah.
So Red Pill has good assessment of how women are today.
Yeah.
The problems within the feminist movement and how it has, the whole world is gynocentric, bro, pretty much. It's literally like bowing down towards women.
Yes.
And this has destroyed women themselves.
You have all these songs that Who Runs the World, Women, and stuff like the other famous one, God is a Woman, and all of this. You know,
but the problem is that this movement has destroyed women because first of all, it started with where there's we need some rights.
Yes.
No problem. We agree. Islam gave women, of course, even when you look at the core of Islam, it focused on that. Hey, okay, fine. We need rights. Then they wanted equality. And then they wanted superiority. Mm-hmm. But then now they want to be men. So you're becoming like how we're just talking about, right? Like how they walk, how they dress, how they talk.
Yes.
It's like they're so masculine. It's like disgusting. Right? So you wanted to have equality with men, but now you want to be a man, which you kind of hated at the beginning, which makes no sense. So wait a second. You hated men. You said that men were the evil cause of everything, but now you are behaving, being masculine, acting like a man.
Do you feel like this kind of pushes any sort of masculinity in the younger generation, and it's given birth to the Muslim Alpha course? You think that's why it's important, your course?
I think if you look at my course, is targeting young men, young males to become men.
Yes.
Right? Like, okay, in society right now, what's the indication that a male has become a man, that a boy has moved into adulthood? What? 12 o'clock at night, the bell rings, where you turn, I don't know, what's the legal age here in the UK? 18
16.
or 19 or whatever, 16?
It depends legal age, but yeah, 16.
Right?
Yeah.
So
it keeps getting lower, by the way.
So what happens if you're like half an hour earlier? Let's say you commit a crime.
Yeah.
At 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
You get
your mind.
Doesn't make like these arbitrarily like doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. What signals, what skills or traits do you have that now you can say I'm a man? Culture doesn't have that. What are you doing? You have 40-year-olds playing Nintendo every day.
It's done.
Wasting time. There's nothing.
When we were growing up, and I think we're pretty much kind of the same generation, we used to play out. We used to get into fights that were safe fights. Now, we used to climb trees, broken bones, mess around and go knock on your friend's house. That's how you know he wants to play. Now everything is social media. Young men are not as brave as they used to be. We used to have a wrestling club that we formulated ourselves as 14 to 16. We had a structured wrestling club, imagine. I was part of a gang in East London. But I'll tell you, it's one of the nicest gangs. Even though it was a gang, and some of the members, now they've locked up and some have passed away and all that. But they became more violent after we've left the gang and they were older. But for that example, we used to wrestle, we used to fight, and it was organized. Now I don't think the younger men have the heart. Not just they have the heart, they haven't been given the opportunity. And this is why I think the alpha male course, things like that, it's very important right now. Get them off the social media, off the PlayStation, bring them into the open wild and see if they can survive.
No doubt. Yeah. So basically we look at changing mindset.
Yeah.
Connecting again to your faith though, because right, that's where the core of masculinity is. The core of who you are as a human being.
Yes.
So the mindset, the theory, and then the practice, of course, our camps, our travelings and so on. Getting men to come back, some of them who are already maybe adults, they're male adults, but they're not men. So to make that transition into becoming men.
Yes.
And young boys to change and to take on those responsibilities, build those skills as adults.
Yes.
Responsibility, assertiveness, faith, honor, justice, right? So you become a man through those events in your life, those things that, sometimes life, to some people, life throws those things at them and forces them to become men, while many today living through those events in your life, those things that, sometimes life, to some people, life throws those things at them and forces them to become men, while many today living in to an extent, a very comfortable environment.
Yeah.
They don't get to make those changes. So then they stay as boys. I mean, literally, you have 40-year-old boys, 50-year-old boys.
Exactly. I mean, I don't think my boy Chase here was there last time. I said, Chase is behind the camera, by the way. Just so you know, I was saying last time that if you haven't taken a punch to the face, there's no way you can survive in this world.
No one.
If you've never been punched, I'm talking about young, not if people should go looking for fights now. But,
right.
Or you can in a controlled manner in training and sparring. But I found analyzing recently, I can tell someone who's never been punched in the face by their mannerism, their character. Many of them lack confidence.
Yep.
I've been punched a lot in my face. You know that sensation, that cold sensation.
Yeah.
That installs some sort of, I don't know what to call it, but first of all, this fear goes away of being punched in the face. Mm-hmm. You're more confident. You know how to conduct yourself. You know how to carry yourself. Those who have not experienced this at a young age, I think they might find it difficult to conduct themselves around people. I find because of this, I need to put an act on. So
most of the school shooters in America, and they have a school shooting almost every month. Like I'm talking about like proper execution style massacres.
Yeah.
They don't even report them on the news anymore. They're so common.
Yeah.
Right. You look from East Coast to West Coast in America, it's become a common thing.
Yes.
Okay. Get a few ARs, load them up, and just make a list and go. Most of these people, they're just a bunch of sissy cowards who have never been in a fight.
Exactly.
They have no confidence.
Yeah.
But they're able to go and get a license for a gun. And literally, a lot of them, these are licensed guns. They're not like off the streets.
Yeah.
And they just walk into school and just shoot people.
And it's very dangerous because someone will say, oh, Hassan, you're talking about being punched in the face. You're advocating for violence. But look at your example. Those who've never had this discipline in martial arts and training and sparring, they trying to look for an outlet. 100%. They probably get, unfortunately, get bullied because they don't know how to act. They don't know how to socialize. This is why courses like yourselves are important.
Look, there's a difference between violence and conflict.
Yes.
Okay, violence is just unmanaged temper, no control. Right? Human beings are capable of violence. Like, we're created like that.
Yes.
But a person needs to experience. So I do advocate for conflict, managed conflict, structured conflict management. And part of that is combat. Yeah. Human beings have the ability and need to have the ability to fight. It's always been like that, bro. Yeah. It's part of our life. And when we don't know how to handle it, we don't know how to process it, we don't know how to deal with it, that's when you get the stabbings, the shootings, the violence that is taking place today. That's where you get. So definitely, I do advocate for controlled, guided exposure towards conflict management, how to fight, and so on and so forth. I do 100% advocate for that. I think it's important. I think it saves lives. I think it saves people. When a person, as you said, knows what it means to get punched in the face and knows what it means to be in a conflict, I think that person grows and is able to assess situations better. And they're not going to be just knee-jerk and do something ludicrous that's going to be, you know, you can't press a restart button, bro. Your life thing is not going to go back up. You know what I mean? A lot of people, because of the whole game culture, they think they can just go there and somehow they don't realize that it's reality. Yes.
Okay, so naturally, let's jump onto your next program. You have the Muslim Alpha course, which I think all ages, but it's better to start as a young age. And we're talking about conflict management. You also have like a marriage counseling, psychology, private counseling that you run. Do you find in your marriage counseling, or you also have an intimacy counseling, am I correct? Do you find that there's a link to how an individual has been brought up to find themselves in that situation where they're in front of you and you're counseling them?
Yeah, so basically, so I run a counseling program. My background is in psychology and counseling, and I've mixed it again with Islam because, see, psychology in its core at the beginning, even by definition, psychologos, it was basically the knowledge and study of the soul. And that's what Islam focuses on usually, the ruh and the soul. Right, that's the essence of your creation, first and foremost. Now, of course, again, science has kind of taken over psychology, and it's been made into a atheistic type of knowledge or component. So within my counseling, I basically looked at what are the main problems that the community faces. And how can I position myself as a solution? Yes. Part of those are, as you said, marriage. A big one, a huge one today in this world is mental health. It's a big thing.
Yes.
And another
more in men, you think? More in men, the mental health?
100%.
Yeah?
100%. Suicide among men, depression among men is so much higher than women. Yes. And there's a reason for that. We can get into it.
And there aren't, sorry to interrupt you, and there aren't many, I know, in fact, because I've checked, there aren't many Islamic psychologists or counselors that when if someone's going through depression, anxiety, usually you go to imam or someone at the mosque, someone at the madrasa, someone, and then they solely talk to you about a certain type of way of life. But someone like you who's looked at all comparative religions, who has a holistic view, let's say, because we are living in this world. So in order to, I think, to counsel someone, you have to understand the world and understand Islam. So they aren't many, and I am going to list all your programs attached, inshallah. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, but did you see this gap that there aren't many Islamic counselors?
Right. There's maybe Muslims who subscribe to like secular psychology or psychiatry. Yeah. No doubt about it. But it's not a faith, God-centered approach.
Yes.
Not just that, coupled with the fact that most men don't like to talk. Yeah. We're made like that. We don't like to complain.
Yes.
Right. Women, as soon as they have a problem, they call their girlfriends. Oh, this happened, right? And then she'll be like, it's okay, don't worry.
Or they complain to their children.
Complain to the children or their mom or something. They always have someone to load off on.
Yeah.
With men, we don't. We usually hold it in.
You don't want to whine. I find that
whine,
I don't want to be whining about something. You know? Yeah.
And because our lifestyles are very different, back in the day, you used to go hunting, you used to go this, that. You just, whatever, disappear, right?
Yes.
Today, you're going back home, watching Netflix or being on a game or maybe on social media, hating your life, whatever. So depression increases.
It builds up.
You don't want to tell anyone. You're ashamed of yourself. You don't want to appear weak, yet you are weak. So it builds. And then, yes, men suffer hugely. They don't know where to. They can't just be like, they might go to an imam or something. Yeah. And the guy will say, well, just make dua or something, which is okay. It's very important.
Yes.
But it's, as you say, it's a more holistic approach. And not because I'm saying so. When you look at the approach of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, in counseling people, it was always a very pragmatic approach.
Yes.
It was very solution-based, driven and based, 100%. So there's a huge need. And so within this umbrella of counseling, I've developed a few courses. One of them was intimacy, because I do believe that like sex is important.
Yes.
A lot of people, when it talks about sex, they're like, oh, sex, right? It's because it's become something very dirty due to pornography and the way the culture is. It's very hypersexualized culture.
Yes.
So sex is dirty.
Yes.
It equals to dirty.
There's like a stigma in it.
There's a stigma.
Religion,
While Islamically, sex is part and parcel of your faith, actually. It's, it's the, literally, it builds life.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it does, isn't it?
Yes.
And also, it takes Islamic, there's no, if you look at, as opposed to other religions, there's no shame in it.
No.
In terms of like, to do it for desire.
Yeah.
So in Islam, there's a concept of shahawat and desire.
Yes. Yeah.
And this is taken out through sex.
Yes.
And sex is encouraged.
Yeah.
Right? And there's many, many texts that explain that. And these are not people's texts. These are revelations from God himself.
No. Yes.
Okay, so sex is part of life, but because the way culture looks at it, it's become something dirty, and there's a lot of problems, again, because there's weakness in men. Men are suffering, porn addiction, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, all these sexual dysfunctions, and marriages don't work because that bonding energy is not there anymore. You understand?
Yes, and you also, to jump on it, you also have another program in conjunction, pornography, right?
Right.
So that would be...
Yes, so with porn addiction, right? So we're working in helping men who have porn addiction.
Yes.
Because that's like the ultimate male killer, man.
That's part and parcel with the intimacy. You
100%.
You think so, yes.
If once a man is addicted to pornography,
yes,
whether now or later or whatever, once his brain gets desensitized enough to it, he won't be able to perform anymore, right? And because men are the performers, women are the receivers in general.
Yes.
That connection
it might be a bit different these days.
We'll talk, but that's the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Why is it different?
Yeah,
it's because the shift in energy, the masculine energy, has been transferred towards the females. Yeah. Now females are gonna act and behave. Like recently, I had a question. Yeah. That's what the brother said. He's like, I feel, literally said, like, my wife rapes me.
Yes.
He says, like, I feel so
He
feminine.
feels like his wife rapes him.
He said, I feel so feminine.
Yeah.
And because she's so aggressive in bed.
Yes.
And she does all these things. And I'm like, what should I do? And he literally sounded like a little, and I'm not trying to belittle him, but he sounded very, very weak.
Yes. Right? I mean, I see this. I've spoken to a few people who I know. I've spoken to, let's say, some people that I know who are close to me, and they've told me that, oh, so and so is not masculine enough. You know, and I think the programs that you run are all kind of attached to each other. So you have the Muslim Alpha, you have the marriage counseling, intimacy, pornography, and what you're doing now. I think you're going ahead and do this Deen over Dunya program that you're running as well. So, did you one day take a step and you sat and you thought, you know what, these are the solutions of what's going on, or did it happen organically? Speak more about the Deen over Dunya, your program.
So it's not my program. I'm just cooperating with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're doing basically a marriage seminar.
Yes.
Marriage is the building block of society.
Yes.
Most people don't want to get married anymore.
Yeah.
Even if you want to get married, it's so difficult.
Yes.
It's so much easier to just mess around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why people are doing. But it's in the end, it's haram.
Yes.
It leads to so many problems.
Yes.
It destroyed society.
Yes.
Obviously, people are going to want to have sex. So when you make marriage difficult and people don't understand marriage anymore, when the laws around marriage are all in favor of women, guys are going to be like, man, I don't want to get married. Why would I want to get married and get destroyed, get my life destroyed?
Yes.
Because in a sense, for a man to build himself, he's got to work really hard.
Yeah.
Woman kind of just comes on board in general, right?
Yes.
So a lot of guys are like, wait, why would I have built myself my whole life and then I'm just going to lose everything with some woman who doesn't respect me or has been, indoctrinated by feminism
Yes.
and whatnot. So looking at some of these problems, when I came up with the courses, again, I said, what can I do to address these problems? Like, where does my strength, my knowledge lie in terms of offering solutions? Now, I'm not saying that if I'm perfect or I know everything or whatnot.
Yes.
Right. A lot of these courses was me working on myself. Like the Muslim Alpha Man is literally my journey into masculinity.
Yes.
And it's not like I just was born as this,
Yeah.
oh, wow, right?
Yeah.
And then that's it. Let me teach you. Dude, I struggled like crazy. And I've went through so many things in my life, depression, struggling with so many problems, right? Converting to Islam is not easy, man. It was a huge, change. So, but I've seen, like when I was teaching, when I was a teacher and I would see my students, what they're dealing with, right? I realized, man, a lot of these guys don't have a role model. A lot of these guys, their fathers are weak. They're not, showing a good character and a good role model. I seen a lot of these guys were lost in the haram and the bad things they were doing, homosexuality, and all these weaknesses they're having, trying to date, try to do this, try to do that.
Yes.
So I was like, well, what can I do to use my skills in psychology and education and deen, and let me put something together. And alhamdulillah, through these courses, we're able to help thousands and thousands of men and young boys to change. And it's an ongoing battle, man. It's a battle.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a battle.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I want to talk about now our relationship. My Yomba. Hopefully today you'll see Jibreel Al Romani candidly. He's always candidly, but maybe you see him in
always chilling.
Maybe you see a different side, because as I say, I know him personally. He's a brother of mine. Let's talk about how we met. Yeah. Yeah. And we have, I think we need 24 hours podcast.
24 days, bro.
It's not enough. I don't. We don't have long, but we'll speed on. So how we met, I got a job in UAE, and I was placed in Fujairah, which is an Emirates in the UAE.
Beautiful.
I thought I was gonna work in Dubai, so I landed. We had the induction in Abu Dhabi, another Emirates, the head of the Emirates, and then they put me in the car and they sent me to this mountainous area. When I got out the car, I was like, where the hell am I? Some mountains everywhere and all of this. and I am discombobulated, however you say that word. And then that morning I had to teach a class, and I was observed. So I was everywhere, and I think the way we met, I told you I lost my wallet, remember? Yeah. He was like, where's your stuff, bro? And I was like, I don't know. I just like, what's wrong with this guy? He's just come from the UK. I was probably 24 years old. And he was like, come, I'm doing a show. I think he was doing Huda at that time, CNN Studios. And I'll take you around and see where we can get your wallet. And I think
someone had your wallet, right? We had to drive to Dubai and pick it up from somewhere.
I left it in one of the people, the compliant people, whoever,
right,
in one of their cars, and my wallet had everything in it. And this is where I knew that you are proper Mjomba, like you're my guy, because you gave me money. I didn't have money. Imagine, like, I'm 24 years old. That's how you know that I don't know anything about the world. I'm 24 years old. I've been in a whole different country. You was like, bro, where's your money? I was like, don't have anything. I was like, what are you gonna eat? I don't know. I'm just gonna eat in the hotel. How are you gonna eat in the hotel? And just like, you know what? Let's go and find your wallet. And alhamdulillah, and then I think the rest is history. So let's talk about STS. I think the school where we were teaching. How did you end up there? You was already teaching in Abu Dhabi, correct?
Yes, I was in Abu Dhabi.
Yes.
And I started with grade school, then moved to high school.
Yeah.
Then I just said, okay, I want to make a difference. I want to change. I've always tried to climb the ladder.
Yes.
And I had this opportunity to get a better job.
Yes.
To climb up the ladder. I applied for it. I got it, alhamdulillah. And it was in Fujairah. And I really wanted like a different... I love Fujairah.
Yes.
I used to always go there. We used to go with the brothers for camping and have these programs, these youth programs.
Yeah.
And when I saw that there's an opening there, I was like, that's it.
This is the one.
This is the one. I know every morning I'll be climbing those mountains, right?
And there's a crazy guy there. Some Hassan, some crazy guy there you met.
That's it. So I went, alhamdulillah, I took the job. And you came in...
14.
Yeah.
Right. The beginning of that term.
Right.
2014. I don't know how I got the job, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Alhamdulillah.
SubhanAllah, it's like Allah planned for us to meet. I don't know. They had a recruitment pool in Manchester, and we had graduated. I just graduated at that time, and for a couple of years I couldn't find anything. And I graduated in like construction, property development, this sort of thing. And a few of my friends at that time were going to Qatar. They're doing the CELTA course, the IELTS course, and they're going to Saudi Arabia, Qatar. Yeah. I did the same course, and one recruitment agent was like, you need to go to Manchester. Adveti are recruiting Abu Dhabi International Vocational. I went there. They asked me a few questions. They liked me straight away. That Monday, they gave me a ticket. I had no idea what was going on. Before I know it, I'm in front of a classroom and everyone's looking at me. It's like, teacher. I think you realize early on that this guy, he has no idea what's going on. And I need to put him under my wing and subhanAllah and just guide him, because I had a lot of problems, as you saw. This is why my mom used to call you, be like, look after him. He's not all in there and stuff like that. I used to get angry all the time. And funny enough, I was angry at the management, not even the students. Yeah. The students were my friends.
Because the students loved you. I remember the students really loved you.
Yeah,
Mr. Hassan.
Mr. Saloom.
Because some of them were from like, they would have the same last name as
the same tribe. Yeah, Shmeli.
Which was so cool,
yeah. And I thought it was a cool thing for me before I found out it was derogatory, for like the management. Right. So I would go and be like, I'm from this part of the world. I'm just like you. Right. So we were like friends, my students. Right. But management hated me. I was like one of the students, I didn't conform. I was rebellious. No lesson planning.
Remember Munira?
Yes. We had issues, man. Yeah. She used to observe me.
I think she would on purpose go to your class.
Yeah, just to disrupt it. Yeah, find something. And I hated that. But one thing that I realized that I feel like I was doing like a disservice to my students because I wasn't a bred teacher. I didn't do a PGC, wasn't teaching. My undergrad wasn't teaching. So when I was actually, as a teacher, as you know, you perform. You're a teacher. You're a bread teacher, mashallah. But I had to perform, and I looked at a few of the students who were engaging and wanted to learn, and I remember telling you, Ahi, that I don't think I'm doing it right, bro. I think I'm not giving them the best that I can. I feel like they needed more, to a point where I'll say to some of the students to go into your class, and you're like, nah, it's all right, bro. You're doing good. They like you and all of this, and I think it kind of worked because most of the students were Bedouins, never been in a classroom before. I've never been in a classroom before as a teacher.
You're a Bedouin too.
I'm a Bedouin too. So we kind of just found our way, and I love Fujairah. And then, I fell in love with Fujairah. When I realized what Dubai was and what all these other areas, Sharjah, Ajman, and Abu Dhabi, Al Ain, all of the other Emirates, I realized, I'm in a special place. I have the ocean. I have the mountains. I have Oman, where my family's originally from, and my tribe is there. So I can, less than 2 hours, I'm flying there, or I can drive. So I love Fujairah, and me and you were like flag bearers of Fujairah, and we're going to
everywhere,
all types of madness. Yeah. So you eventually left Fujairah, right?
I mean, I was still living in Fujairah.
Yeah.
But I took a position as a general manager, principal in Sharjah. So I was driving to Sharjah. Remember, we were racing the cars, remember?
Yeah,
on the big highway.
Yes, the highway that goes around the mountains.
That was crazy. And you're driving the Volkswagen, I was driving the Toyota.
Yeah. And we're going to, let's get into the accident, bro. Let's talk about the accident. I mean, the highway is like a road that's like a
4-lane road.
Yeah, it's like a snake
road.
road.
The mountains.
It goes round the mountains in
140
tunnels.
kilometers an hour speed limit.
I'm going to put some images up and some videos.
We're doing about 20, 200, 210.
Like
don't try that at home, okay?
Yeah, don't try. It was crazy. So what we used to do, what you like to do, is go into the desert.
Yeah.
And whenever you had someone...
You used to love the desert.
I used to...
I made you fall in love with it.
Yes. You made me fall in love with it, and now I'm in fear of it, let's say. Because I nearly lost my life there. So whenever you had friends coming over, and Allah Alam who that guy was, but whenever you had friends, the thing that you want to show him is the desert, right? Yes. And there was the big mountain, and you have the eagles there, and there was honey, Yeah. So that was always the goal. So let's talk about you think I should show the scar?
You have the scar?
Let's show the scar, Is this camera, yeah? Let's show the scar. It's only right. We're gonna tell the story.
We're gonna show the scar.
Can you see that scar?
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's lovely.
That's like what you show
your grandchildren. And now I'm showing it in a podcast. Right. So tell me first of all, before I get into how we nearly died, what was you thinking that day? Why the desert? Like, what was the goal?
I mean, I love the desert. I feel sometimes that's like my place. Every time I go through that area, probably one of the first things I do, like the first day or second day, is I hit the desert.
Yes.
There's something about it.
I remember you're the first person to take me to the desert, other than my grandfather's younger brother who lives in Oman, but it wasn't a legit desert like that one. Was that the Maliha? That's the Maliha desert, right?
Yeah, desert.
And I used to enjoy the desert with you, Like it was like you're in a different planet. Yeah. And we would take some of the teachers, some of the American teachers, they'll lose the plot there, thinking they're going to die out there. I used to laugh at them. And because we would get stuck in the middle of the desert, and you would be like, oh, I know where the Bedouins are. Let me run to them. Right. And then I just see you just running. I'm like, this guy's out of his mind. I remember one of the teachers was like, he's out of his mind. I was like, nah, he does this all the time. How does he know there's Bedouins? You can't even see. As far as your eyes can see, you can't see nothing.
Quite well.
Yeah, you know it like the back of your hand now.
It's weird because it's just sand dunes, but you kind of learn to
learn, and you just run like trollops, like guy from Canada, from Romania. He's actually a Bedouin, little do you know. And then you'd come with these cars from the local village that's there, and they would help us and get us out, and we'll be on our way.
Mashallah.
So that, I think the night before, he was like, Yomba, we're going to the desert.
We're going to the desert.
It's going to be good.
Yeah.
We're going, we'll pay Fajr there.
Yeah.
And I think that prayer saved our lives, I think.
Yeah, we prayed, alhamdulillah, in the morning in the mosque.
Yeah.
And that's like safety, insurance. You know what I mean?
Subhanallah, little did we know.
Yeah.
So we prayed and
We went.
We
It
went.
was a nice, calm morning. We stopped and got some paratha with egg.
Yes, as you do. Karak.
As usual, karak chai, tea. And then we went inside. And it was nice and quiet.
Calm.
Everything was good. We went in, went nice.
Calm before the storm,
Yeah.
literally.
Went in, kind of went towards the mountain. I think as soon as we got close to the mountain, there was a bigger dune that we got stuck on for a bit.
Yeah.
We got out, dug a bit. We took our seatbelts off.
Yes, because we were digging.
Yeah.
But let's not get there first. Before we entered the desert, there was that little small masjid, that beautiful masjid where we prayed.
Yeah.
It was by itself, and you said, "Let's stop here. Let's decrease the tire pressure as you do, and let's pray here."
Yeah.
Oh, I know that that prayer saved our lives.
Yeah.
So we got into the desert. We got stuck. We removed our seatbelts.
Yeah. The prayer saved our life because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man salla al-fajr fi jama'ah fahuwa fi dhimmatillah." Whoever prays the prayer morning in jama'ah with the congregation,
Yes.
they're in the protection of God.
Subhanallah.
Right?
Subhanallah.
Yeah. So we got stuck. We dug out, got back in, and it was a big dune.
Yes.
And that car had the kicker on it,
Yes.
the extra
Turbo.
whatever
Yes.
it was. And I thought that it's not a crest.
Yes.
So I pushed it to go up,
Yes.
and it was a very
Steep.
sharp,
Yeah,
steep
it was a
crest,
drop.
about
It was like a cliff.
6 meters.
Let's put it into like people who can imagine. It was a Nissan Patrol,
A Nissan Patrol.
which was a car that people take to the desert
Yeah,
a lot.
Nissan Patrol Super Safari.
Yes.
It's heavy,
Yes.
but very powerful.
You have the images of the crash,
The crash, I do.
which I'm gonna need to put up so that people can see. So you stepped on it.
I stepped on it.
Just before this, sorry, I'm in my own world, thinking about my life, daydreaming at the back as I do. So I'm hanging on to one of the levers as you do, whatever the handles, and I'm looking like this. I'm not even looking straight, because I know my Yomba Jibreel, he's legit in the desert. I fully trust him, and out of nowhere, I feel this stomach feeling, and it's in my mouth. You know that drop feeling?
G-forces.
Yes. So he just said he saw the peak and he stepped on it. So the car went up first, didn't it?
Up, yeah.
And then it-
basically, the gravity pulled the engine because the engine is heavy.
Yes.
So we flew, it went up, and we hit straight
Down
down and flipped.
and flipped.
Yeah, and caved, the top caved in.
So I remember having that stomach feeling and being in
None
the
of
air.
us had seatbelts on,
We didn't have. I think that saved our lives.
and you're
but-
in the back.
Yes. So we're in the air, and I remember airborne must have lasted for a couple of hours for me. Everyone was shouting. We were all screaming. Yomba was screaming, La ilaha illallah, ashhadu Allah. We're taking a, and those who don't know, Muslims, just before we die, we should take our shahada and that kind of stamps that we died as a Muslim. So I'm hearing my guy here, he's taking his shahada. I'm shouting as well, ashhadu Allah ilaha illallah, because I know, this is how I'm gonna die. I'm dying now. So I'm thinking, why is it taking so long? The impact. I'm afraid. So many emotions. I'm afraid. I'm thinking the impact. Is it gonna hurt when I die? It was the most scariest moment of my life.
You had
So
all
then
that time to think about
It
these
was
things.
long, and you was in the driver's seat. I don't know what you was thinking. I'm like slapping you guys.
It
I'm
looks
everywhere.
so high, even
Yeah.
though maybe in the pictures it doesn't look like the way the sand is.
Yes.
It looks so high, like you're falling
Yes.
off a building, man.
Yes.
And it was like a flight,
Yeah.
and then I was like, that's why I said, I was like, man, we're gonna hit it hard.
Yes. So we flipped,
Yeah.
and we ended up
It's
in
a
like
frontwards flip.
Yeah, it's a frontward flip, and we ended up in like a trench, I would say, right?
Yeah.
In like a pit, like a trench.
Yeah,
It was
bottom,
dark.
The bottom of this.
It was dark. Do you remember what you said to me? Well, after all the commotion started, when we're in there and it was all dark, and you was like underneath the steering wheel, I think.
Yeah.
And the other brother was in the glove compartment.
Like that.
I thought he was dead. So I thought this guy died, you know,
died.
like, because he'd made no noise. And I remember what you asked me, "You're right, bro?" And I was like, "Bro, I died."
You're like, I died.
Like past tense.
Start laughing, bro.
Yeah, you started laughing.
Because you were like, what do you mean? I'm like, what do you mean I died?
Yeah, like I died and I'm here now. Because it was dark. And this arm, I could barely see this arm was on this side of my body. So it was attached. I thought it was detached. So I'm thinking, right, I'm gonna live my life now with one hand and I'm gonna clap like this. All these things were going through my head. So you're asking me, bro, are you okay? And I was like, bro, I died. And you're laughing as you're laughing now. Like, bro, why are you laughing? I died. Bro. And then this is what you said to me. So earlier when you said one of your dreams is burning, it was like, Akhi, we need to get out of here because the car is gonna ignite. I don't want to die in fire. Yeah. I don't want to be burned alive. Yeah. And then I managed to move my body and kick one of the doors, and the doors flang open, and the light came into the compartment. Mm-hmm. And then you kind of moved in like a sneaky way over me. Yeah. You managed to get out, and then you pulled my body out.
At one point, he said, "Just leave me. I died.
Yeah,
I'm dead.
No.
I'm dead." He said, "Leave me." You said, "Leave me."
I'll get to that. So you pulled me out, and then this arm, which was on this side, kind of came back into position. And then I realized, oh, I've broken everything. And then you're like, "Get up, bro, get up." And I was like, "Just leave me."
Just leave me. I died. I'm dead.
It's so dramatic. I'm like, you're like, "Just leave me." You're like, "Bro, you're not dead. Just let's go, bro. This thing's about to blow up." And I was, you know, one of those comedies where someone gets like a little scratch and they think the world is over. It was basically that. So he was like, "Let's go." And I was like, "Just leave me, just leave me." And you're like, "No, bro." And then you picked me up and you took me closer to where the doom, the face of the doom was. And then you went back for the other brother.
Yeah, he was already outside.
Yeah. Oh, was he? He was already out. He sprang. Nothing happened to him.
There's nothing wrong with it, bro. There's no scratch.
Yeah. There's I have a conspiracy about him.
There's a theory about
There's a theory about him that he wasn't a human being.
Disappear on the other side of the
this
fence.
guy like kind of transcended into things like, you know, like one of those different dimension stuff.
And he just disappeared.
He just disappears and comes back again. It was definitely a jinn. But anyways, so you went back to get things from the car, like survival things that saved our lives, I would say. You got water.
And especially sunglasses.
So I was about to pass out. Yeah. You saw that, right? Yeah. Because the sun at that point was up. Yeah. You know, and I was about to pass out. So you put sunglasses on me and then you put me on a sling. Mm-hmm. You put my arm on a sling and he was like, "All right, we're gonna survive."
We have a video of that too.
Yes. We're gonna share that video. And what happened, bro? What happened
Bro, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like you're talking about, it went from clear to pitch black. Almost.
Pitch black, no visibility.
Proper sandstorm, bro. It was like human sand blasting. Like, remember how it was painful.
It was beating us like the particles. Pop, 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 pop.
And bro, alhamdulillah that we had those sunglasses.
Subhanallah. It's like the world was over, bro. If you think the accident was bad, I remember seeing it like consume it was overwhelming.
You didn't know which way you're going anymore. Like, that was the problem. We couldn't tell which way we are going towards the highway.
I remember telling you, Akhi, you need to make dua, because if that didn't kill us, this is gonna kill us now. Yeah. I remember you laughing throughout the whole thing. You was semi-serious, but you was laughing at the same time.
Dramatic relief, man.
Yeah, you was like, and you was like, "Don't worry, we're gonna go Hadramaut, we're gonna have mandi, we're gonna have madfoon, all the things that I like, you know. Don't worry, we're gonna laugh about this one day, bro. And I was like, "No way, we're dying. This is how people are stranded in the desert. They die of dehydration, bro. You don't even know which way is north or south." And you was like, "No, I got you. There's a Bedouin village behind." I was like, "Allow the Bedouin village, bro. We're dying out here." And then the guy was so annoying. He kept on bumping into me. Literally, I broke the whole arm. It's a whole different story how my recovery. We'll get into that. Yeah. So the sandstorm came. How did we survive that sandstorm, bro?
Yeah, so we're able to find the direction of the highway.
Yes.
And slowly we moved up and down. And you're in pain because even just going up and down, it took a long time for us to navigate those sand dunes. It's hard to go with a car.
Yes. Now imagine
climbing
walking
and
because
walking.
because your feet seep into the sand, and
That's it.
I'm a big
And
fat
you're
guy.
being like sandblasted. Imagine sandblasting,
Yes,
right?
yes.
It's like on your skin. And we were
Yes.
like in, short
Bro,
sleeves.
if you look at my scars, I don't know if the camera can see my scars. This is because the sand had seeped into my skin.
It was like
Remember the nurses were trying to clean
Pull
us
it
up
out, yeah.
once we made it to the hospital.
crazy.
Yeah, so before we get to the hospital, go on. So how did we
Yeah, so
get rescued?
it took us a long time.
Couple of
and,
hours.
Yeah, we reached the highway.
Yes.
Somehow got over through the fence.
Yeah.
And we stopped some cars. There was a guy, I remember, he had like a Hummer or something.
Yeah.
And he basically drove us to Fujairah.
Before that, bro, so before you get to the service road, you had those barbed wire fences to stop the camels.
Exactly, from crossing.
So I slowed down. I was like, oh my God, this day is getting it's getting better. I can't bend. I can't jump. How am I going to get through this barbed wire? And then that guy, he just got to the other side. We don't know how he got to the other
He
side.
just flew over or something.
And I remember you pulling the barbed wire, even cutting yourself. Pulling it. Like, you know how a boxer enters a ring?
The ring, yeah.
So I remember you pulling it and he was like, go, bro, go. And I remember cutting myself here, going through it. And so much pain. And my auntie used to say, when you're in a little pain, you cry. When you're in a lot of pain, you're just silent.
Yeah.
When the pain is extraordinary.
You're in a trauma. Like,
yes.
It was a trauma for you.
It was just silence. And then the car ride, because the car ride was bumpy, so every little bumps I can feel. At that point, you was like, I know, bro, you just dislocate your shoulder. It's only a dislocation shoulder. And I thought it was a dislocated shoulder. And it didn't end there, did it? We went to the private hospital, which was, because we're expatriates, we go straight to the private hospital, right?
Yeah.
And what were we told there when we reached the hospital?
We have to like report it to police or something. I don't know.
No,
what there's.
we were told we can't treat you, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm dying then.
That's it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna die right here.
But I think we had to report it to the police.
Yeah, so
it was an accident.
we had to produce a police report in order for them to administer any treatment, or otherwise we'll have to get a taxi or go to the public hospital. And I said, I'm not leaving this hospital. And I remember you went and got the police report, didn't you? Yeah. So you left and you went and got the police report. But alhamdulillah, knowing me, I've been to that hospital a couple of times. So there was a few Jordanian doctors who knew me, who've seen me before. And they gave me painkillers. They checked my stomach for internal bleeding. You had a big gash, a big cut. You had concussion. Yeah. And you went back to the desert to get the car, didn't you?
Yeah, the next day.
The next day.
Yeah.
You're on a different level. It
was a big rescue, man.
Massive rescue. How did you get the car out?
We had to flip it over to the other side. You have to flip it back on its wheels.
Yes.
And pull it on the sand dunes.
Yeah.
Back all the way to the highway. It's crazy.
Oh, how did you find the car though? That's the fascinating.
And it was
bit.
at night, bro. Like I have still the videos, and it was a night rescue.
Yes. Okay, so the night rescue, right? You rescued the car.
It was literally like we had to use 2 cars to do literally we calculate like physics.
Yes.
How much pressure so it doesn't snap the cords.
Yeah.
Which way to do it, and we flipped it over.
Yes.
Then we pulled it out. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Now let's talk a bit about my journey. And then earlier when I said you did look after me, and my mom speaking to you, you took me in your home, subhanallah, and you looked after me like a big baby. You know how you look after a big baby
wash you with
the hose, like how you wash elephants and cars. So you take me to the bathroom.
Down, bro.
Yeah. Took me to the bathroom and spraying me, and then squirting shampoo, because I was just like this. I couldn't move my arm. So just before we get to that, the hospital said they can't operate on my arm. So they put a cast. And he was like, bro, don't stay by yourself. Come stay with me. Come live with me. And I was living with you, I think, was it a month or close? I think close to a month, yeah? And every day you would wake me up, wash me, and all of this, like, because I couldn't move. Food, feed me, and all of that. SubhanAllah, may Allah reward you, bro. Like, you didn't have to do all that.
Like always.
Yes. Uncle Hassan and all that. And I know the big babies. We had a good time. I remember your youngest at the time, she used to come on the bed and just jump on the bed, wake me up, and I was like holding my arm and do backflips. Yeah. But I loved it. Like subhanallah, like if he wasn't there for me, I don't know. I think I would have just escaped as I did.
That was a tough one, man.
It was hard, bro.
That was tough.
It was hard because it played on me mentally as well.
Yeah.
You know, it had a mental thing, and especially at the time what my mum was going through, she was battling cancer. I hid it from her. I hid this accident from almost all the members of my family. And then we went to Saudi German hospital, I think, did we? And then they said they can't operate. So Fujairah said they couldn't operate. Dubai said they couldn't operate. And I remember calling my auntie and she was like, go India. I said, no, I'm going to go to UK and pay privately for a private consultation. So I flew back to the UK, and I didn't tell anyone I had an accident. When my little brother came and collected me from Heathrow, he saw I was wearing a gown and all of that. I flew first class as well.
Wow.
The dirtiest, smelliest person in first class. Because I think I didn't shower 3 days. Because I actually escaped from your house, bro. I escaped because you're like, bro, don't go. And I was like, no, I'm going. Yeah. So I left, and my brother picked me up, and he was in shock. What happened to you? And my sister saw me, and I went to a private independent clinic, a big one here, and they told me almost the exact same thing. We can't operate. Why? Because there's an aerial nerve that travels down your arm, and for them clinically, if you can close and open your palm, clinically you're okay. You don't really need to have full extension. So they were like, if we operate, we might damage your nerve, and then you won't be able to hold anything. So for us, it's fine. I was like, what? No, man. I want to use my arm. So my auntie was like, okay, go to India. So I went to India, and I met this surgeon, this orthopedic surgeon, who I still have on WhatsApp till this day. And he goes, I operate on them 20 a week. He goes, in 30 days, nothing happened. excuse the, but that was correct thing. He was like, in 30 days, you'll be normal. And I was like, what? I have all these specialist orthopedics telling me they can't fix. Now you're telling me in 30 days I'll be normal? And it was like, he brought out the tools. It was like a mechanic. This is what I'm going to use to fix you. And then my auntie was like, hi, Abbasi, let's sign it. Because you have to sign the form, whatever it's called, the consent form. I signed it. The following morning, went into the theatre, and in 30 days, I returned to Fujairah. My arm was still kind of like this, but we did physio, and alhamdulillah, that was a story, bro. Subhanallah. I mean, we have many stories, many adventures. We didn't even talk about Zanzibar, Turkey, you traveling throughout Tanzania for your dawah. And I think that's something that we will do in the future. Inshallah. Everything that we spoke about, all your courses, I'll attach them to the video. And now you're off to Ireland to do Deen over Dunya, right? And I think by the time we've published this episode, you already have done that show, inshallah. So alhamdulillah, I want to thank you, man, Yomba. Inshallah, there's more to come.
My brother.
Yeah. All right, Yomba, we'll end it here, inshallah. All right, assalamu alaikum.